Come on. Oh, not the platforms. Come on. Oh, god damn it. This game is hard. Oh, hey guys. Sorry, sorry you had to see me in that way. But, hey guys, how's it going? Like, we're here and I'm back with another video, and today will be the birth of a new series, and as the title tells, we're going to be talking about Discontinued Tech. Ugh. Now, in the 19 years that I've been alive, I wouldn't say I played them all, but I've played the major ones, the N64s and the PS1s and the PS2s and the hoo-ha's and the whatnots. I even had a Windows XP computer. Well, this series is essentially about, a lot of the consoles that I've owned, used to own, that's basically the same thing, or that I currently own that are now discontinued. And today, well, the title says it all. Unfortunately, I don't really want to review this thing because I don't like Sega no more like I used to, for a myriad of reasons. We should all know at this point. But we are reviewing it. The Sega Game Gear. This big old fucking thing. So, a little history lesson. Well, it was the 1990s, and in '89, well, the Game Boy was released, and well, obviously, Sega was their biggest rivals with the Genesis around the corner, and of course, they had to retaliate somehow, and of course, they came up with the Game Gear, which was released somewhere around the late 90s, and was released in America in '91. As you can tell, this is a big old system, and it weighs a ton. Well, minus the fact that the batteries that I have are, we're actually going to get to the well, I'm actually going to get into that a little bit later. In all the times that I have used handhelds in general, this is obviously the biggest one I've owned. It's without a doubt a big unit, and it's bigger than any handheld that I've ever owned. It's bigger than the Vita, it's bigger than the PSP. It's a unit, I'll say that much, and it plays really well, and I gotta say, it's a pretty damn good handheld, but we gotta review it as if we're unbiased, and there's actually a lot of problems that I have to talk about. Another problem that I also have is, well, how do I explain this? I have to record video in a very guerrilla-esque style, and essentially use my phone to record the gameplay because I don't have this thing modded like a lot of people would. And I clearly don't have the money to do that because everything that I've ever done is low budget. Well, there was that one time I had a budget, but we're not going to get into that. But the Game Gear did not last too long at all, if everyone knows that. The Game Gear only lasted around 4 to 5 years, and I believe it was discontinued after Nomad was, well, introduced and released. This was discontinued somewhere around 95, and if anyone has an eagle eye, yes, this is indeed the Majesco model. I mean, it should have been obvious with the fact that this logo is not colorful, and the Switch is not, it's not colored. It's the Majesco model that was released around the 2000s. I believe the beginning of 2000, actually, and these were discontinued not too long later. I have heard that the original ones are not that good as they used to be, so this is generally, well, supposedly better, with better capacitors, a better screen, and overall a better battery life, although I have yet to see the better battery life part of it. But then again, I haven't used Duracell batteries, as I've been using the cheap of the cheap, which is a bad idea with a handle like this, which, I'll get into later. It is a damn shame, though, that this didn't have a long lineage, but with the limited games that I have, which is Columns, Super Columns, Miss Pac-Man, and Sonic 2, I know, we're Sonic 1, I got this system in November of 2014, and the reason why I wanted it is because, well, it looked cool, and it was kind of around that time that I really wanted a handheld collection because I wasn't big into console gaming like I was a little before when I was in middle school. But in high school, it was hard to generally play consoles anymore because it was just it was not enough time in general, and most of the times I would bring my PSP to school, and well, my PSP eventually died, so I didn't really have a handle to bring, and phones were kind of banned from schools. But when that ban was lifted, I ended up having this thing, which I ordered while the ban was still up. So I guess the best thing to do now is to turn off the lights and let's review the games that I have. It's very limited, so we're gonna talk about all the rights and wrongs about the system. The thing was also notorious for its very poor battery life as well, because you can only get around 4 to 5 hours with this thing, which is around the length of the Vita, of course, and the battery life of the Switch. Nintendo really went back in time, didn't they? But, of course, I didn't forget the other issue that I had, which was generally batteries. What's wrong with the batteries I have in this, and why was battery life so critical of the Game Gear?
To put a long story short, the Game Gear used 6 AA batteries. Yeah, AA batteries. But the problem with these batteries is that these are dollar store batteries. And keep in mind, in 1990, or in the 90s in general, battery life was crap. AA batteries were really, really crap. And unfortunately, these batteries were from a dollar store. And dollar store batteries are terrible. Now, you can look at it one way or another. Yeah, I should have bought a better battery, but around this time, well, unfortunately, I don't have batteries to replace these, and these batteries are so bad that the last time I played using these specific batteries, they died within a matter of hours. It wasn't even just like it was like around 2 or 3 hours this thing lasted. Now, luckily, this is the Majesco model, so the capacitors are better, but it doesn't change the fact that these batteries are absolute shit. I should recommend never buy batteries from a dollar store, because they fucking suck. Another issue that I do tend to have with the Game Gear is, well, simply this. Yeah, the cartridge tends to not be responsive, so sometimes I really have to blow into it. So, let's turn it off first before I even do that. There we go. It takes a couple tries, but sometimes it's not too responsive. The first game up that we'll be reviewing is Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for the Genesis. Why did I say the Genesis? Am I fucking stupid? The first game we'll be reviewing is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. That's classic. Now, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is, well, a pretty good game, to say the least. It's generally fun and I like playing it, especially on my spare time. It's definitely a quick game to beat, but sometimes it does get very challenging. It has been said that this is probably one of the hardest games for the Game Gear, but I can guarantee you the other game that we have set for this is far harder. I can pretty much guarantee you on that. Another thing about the Game Gear is that essentially it is like a portable Master System, as actually this is the Master System version of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It may not look like it, well, you're going to have to actually look it up yourself, because it really does look like the Master System version. And not only that, the levels are very different compared to the Sonic 2 that we know on the Sega Genesis. So, it's not really a port of the Genesis version, it's more like a version of, again, the Mega System version.
The Mega System? The Master System, you fucking bumbling retard!
Other than that, it's still a good game, and, well, it's pretty responsive. So, I guess it's time to go on to the next game. Next up, we have Columns. Columns is essentially a puzzle game, and as you can tell, it's a little bit of an easy one. But unfortunately, because of the poor life of the system, you can only play this thing for a few hours. Although, I have read online that there are ways to potentially expand the battery life without using, of course, the ridiculous power adapters that this thing uses. You know which ones I'm talking about, everybody. Overall, this is a good game. It's really fun to play and you can really kill a lot of time on it. I would definitely recommend this if you ever buy a Game Gear. And next up, we have Miss Pac-Man for the Game Gear. Classic sound, that is. Now, as you expect, it plays like Miss Pac-Man, and as you notice, well, the screen is too small for the entire maze. That was kind of expected for the Game Gear, as a lot of the games were pretty much zoomed in. As you can tell, Sonic 2 was zoomed in. Now, this game suffers from one problem, which, of course, I didn't mention, the D-pad. It's pretty crap. I am not gonna lie, this D-pad is just abhorrent. Sometimes when I'm pushing down, I really have to press down. Like there, see? Come on. Come on. Ah, son of a... I pressed right, come on! Now, I'm not saying that this game is bad, it's just the D-pad makes the game kind of crap. Ah, come on. It's a bit of a come on. Ah, fuck. The D-pad doesn't really help too much in this game at all, and if anything, it's a bit of a nightmare to play. I would say get this game, but it's just a walking nightmare with the crappy D-pad this thing has. And last but not least, Super Columns.
You know what? I'm not reviewing this fucking game. This game is a literal piece of shit. Now, I'm not saying that it plays bad. It's just so fucking hard that I can't beat. It's like the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of the Game Gear. It's literally that fucking hard. Now, I don't know why the person who sold me the Game Gear for $30, yeah, $30, that's how much this system cost when I bought it off of Amazon, was $30. Why he would include the hardest game I've ever played on the Game Gear, include it with the system when he knows that it's a hard game. I can't believe he gave me this game of all games. He could have given me, like, I don't know, Mega Man, which is a really rare game, or even Mortal Kombat. Granted, again, like I said, the D-pad on this thing is a piece of crap. Why of all games would he choose Super Columns? I would recommend to stay away from this game like the fucking plague, because this game is a nightmare to play. And with the fact that the controls alone are not good with the D-pad, this is a hard pass, and believe me, I'd rather throw this shit in the garbage than to ever play this fucking game again. And that was pretty much the Sega Game Gear. Now, unfortunately, this thing flopped in a lot of the ways that were pretty obvious. Bad capacitors, bad battery life, and the fact that this thing was just too damn bulky. This thing was not portable at all. If anything, you could stick it in your book bag like a freaking laptop. But it does have its perks. It's in color, it has great sound, and, well, again, this is the Majesco model, so it's technically better than the original one in a nutshell. But it didn't beat the Game Boy at all. If anything, the Game Boy pretty much slaughtered all of its competition throughout the years, and it pretty much became the most dominant handheld of all time. And then the DS came out, and, well, that was that. This was unfortunately one of many Sega's big blunders. As we all know, the 32X, the Sega CD, and of course the Nomad, which that one was actually pretty cool. It just came out the wrong time. But it's sad to see that the Game Gear, that had a lot of potential, failed because of one main problem: third-party support. Something that a lot of systems have to live off of, and if you don't have third-party support, then it's gonna fail, like the Virtual Boy did. Ironically, no third-party support, your shit's gonna die. That's just how it is. And in 1995 or 96, I believe, the Game Gear was unfortunately discontinued, and, well, it was revived, but it died again because it wasn't in high demand. I mean, who gives a shit about the Game Gear? Would I recommend the Game Gear? Well, from a scale of 1 to 10, I give it a 7. It's not bad, but it's not good, but it's a lot of fun to play. Especially Columns. I mean, come on, Columns is the most fun game that I've ever played on a handheld. Although, I think Hamtaro probably beats that game by a mile, just for the novelty of it. Game Gear really is fun, but the problem, of course, is that it's not that much of a handheld, and, well, you're going to have to deal with the D-pad, which is, again, very mushy. And I don't know, maybe because mine has aged, but it's not that good. But generally, it is a very fun system, and I really wish I could collect for it more. And maybe in the future, we can have a part 2, and maybe it could redeem itself better than now. That's it for the first episode of Discontinued Tech. If you want to see more videos like this, and maybe even want to see me actually play more of the system that I have planned for the series, then drop a like in the video if you liked it. But if you don't like it, then dislike it. If you really hate it, I don't care. And if you like, subscribe to the channel, and hell, ring that bell, because it really needs a ringing, because the YouTube algorithm is bullshit. And other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.